G'day guys and welcome back to another Game Day Squad AFL 2025 video. You're on with me, Janath, and I've got my great mates Rossco and DR up above me. We're back, the trio back for another round review and a round preview. So this is the round 21 review. We're going to talk through our teams very quickly, lads. Across the board, I think we did quite well. We'll start with you, Rossco. How'd you go in round 21? Who are your heroes and villains?
Yeah, look, pretty good here, round 21. We got to 12th in starter, 13th in contender, and 27th in classic. So 3 top 30
Very
finishes.
nice.
Plus, as I mentioned last week, a big win in the semi-final of the Rookie League to go through to a prelim, which has guaranteed me an all-star card for 2025. So top 4 in the Rookie League got an all-star card, and coming from, I believe I was 7th out of the top 8 in the ladder, crept through quite nicely to the prelims. This week, I'll be playing a familiar face to the channel. We've had him on before, GDS Gunners.
Ooh.
So that's one, he's a fond trading partner of ours. We do a lot of deals with him, moving cards around and all that sort of stuff. So I think I might have to hold off on some of my more risky plays this week. Maybe I won't reveal too much in case he's watching. Nah, of course not.
He will definitely be watching, mate. That's for sure.
Got to give out the best intel. But, I might do the old sneaky, I'm going to pick a gold row and then I just put in bronze, a bit of mind games.
Yes.
It'd be good to get through to the final in that. In terms of a quick review, I did quite well with Holmes, Grundy, Whitfield, Janath pick McKercher. I don't believe we mentioned him on the episode last week, but I was split on Friday night between, I believe it was Lockie Ash, Colby McKercher, and Jordan Clark. All three of them did quite well, but I settled on McKercher, who scored 154 against my Saints, which did make it a bit easier to watch that game on Sunday. Surprisingly, all of my top cards were actually underwhelming. So my Platinum Dacos, Sinclair, the All-Star Naz, and the Diamond Bond, if they'd just gone a little bit bigger, I'd probably get a lot closer to actually winning Classic. They all got, I believe, decent 110. I know Sinclair got 98, but they all got decent 110 to 120 scores, but no 150s to really capitalize on the big money multipliers there. So overall, though, can't complain. Very pleased with the round. Now, DR, I'll throw it over you.
Yeah, look, not too bad for me. I was actually 35th of the rounding contender, and I'm 35th overall as well. So given the fact I had a bit of a slower start to the contender comp, I'm actually pretty pleased with where I'm at. I don't know if I'll be able to crack the top 20. There's a lot of work to do in not much time, but very happy at the moment. Classic wasn't anything terrific, but I'm improving as my squad is improving. I think that's been the major reason for me anyway, why I've started to go up in the rankings, particularly in the contender comp. Starter, I'm using that as a bit of a pod competition at the moment, just going with a few wacky picks, having a bit of fun there. The real serious one is a contender, and Maxi Holmes, Noah Anderson, as some of the top cards did well for me. Bombed out with a couple of players here and there, but overall, I think it's, what would you call it? Just a solid round, boys, around the 35 mark. Just a solid round. But, enjoying it more and more. And I reckon we did pretty well with some of our picks from last week. But, Janath, I'll throw it back to you, mate. Going pretty well in all competitions at the moment, brother.
Yeah, thank you, mate. So, bit similar to Ross, I finished 39th in starter, but the big ticket items, 11th in contender and 15th in classic for the round. So happy across the board there. The big one for me is similar to Rossco's Rookie League competition. I'm well and truly in the hunt for the contender prize. 6th overall with 3 rounds left. So hoping to stick in the top 10 for an all-star card as well there. So fingers crossed on that. The big ticket items I felt delivered. Perhaps in contender, it was just one bad quarter from Nick Dacos. That sort of cost us a little bit. Jack McRae, 81. If that was a Sam Darcy, that would have got us some more points. But across the board, can't complain too much. Had a gold Maxi Holmes in contender, gold Noah Anderson, gold Naz. Like, they're really good cards to play around with. So happy across the board there. Well, mate, we're going to go to Rossco now to talk about how we went in round 21. So I want an analysis of our locks, avoids, and pods. And having a look at the data myself, I think we did quite well, mate, didn't we?
Yes. So we've virtually almost nailed 25 picks in terms of a category. We each made one mistake from last week. So we'll start off with the locks. We'll go in the order that we gave them, and I'll give the name as well. So I went first. Max Gorn, 127. Then Janath went with Rao, 119. Dio went with Noah Anderson, 143. Nice big score there. Janath took Grundy, 164, second highest for the round. And then Naz again, 131. Now, this was our one miss in the locks. DR took Jack Sinclair, who didn't do too bad.
98. 98.
Come on, mate.
But, 120 would have maybe just been a smidge better. Janath took then Maxi Holmes, 165, top scorer for the round. DR went with Heaney, 121. I know a few were nervous about the rain in Sydney, but he still stood up really well. And then I took two in a row. Cozzy Pickett, 123 against the Eagles, and Bailey Smith, 133 as well against Port. So overall, we did pretty well there. And Jack Sinclair, even though we call it a miss, 98 is still like a fairly, very serviceable score.
Just a handball.
Like a 50
Come on, Jack, an extra handball, son. A bit of Kevin Bartlett.
100%.
One extra kick in
now.
That's it.
We'll go into our avoids where we've actually done pretty well here. So Janath took Merritt at 90. DR took Zorko 97. I took Sarong, who scored only 74. Janath took Moore and Sicily, who went 67 and 99 respectively. I went with Sam Darcy, who managed to get up to 113. And I was a bit worried there, actually. He slowed down a lot. I think he kicked 3 in the first quarter against the Giants. So I was thinking, oh dear, what have I done? I've left him out. But he didn't kill us too badly. 113, still a good score to have, but not a super killer. And then DR went with Rosie, who scored 0. Didn't play. Perfect avoid. And did we flag that last week, boys? Did we say that there was a chance that Rosie could be pulled at the last minute?
It was like the hand. We were worried about the hand a fair bit. So it was like,
yeah,
if he's only got one functional hand, he's probably not going to score too well. And he had illness anyway, so didn't play anyway.
Yeah, I think we discussed that though. I think we said we were worried he could be pulled, and then you'd be stuck with only Fremantle and Carlton options to choose from. I think that was part of the reason behind it as well. Now, the pods here are very exciting to look at. We've got some big scores. So Janice started us off with Petrarca, who went 86, which is a bit underwhelming against the Eagles, but that was our one miss. Then he goes Noble, 125, Goulden, 135. DR goes Rowan Marshall, the big man from St Kilda, for a 160, the third highest score of the round as a pod. Scored higher than Gorn, higher than English, and was just up there in the top 2 with Grundy for the round. It would have been nice if you had both of them. I think big shout out to Mel's Mitzvits. I'm pretty sure I saw over the Discord that she had that combination in one of her lineups. Janath again went with Mills, 117. DR took Chad Warner, 115. And then I went with Tim English, 149. And Salem, 131. For what we're calling a grand total of 22 out of 25 successful picks in terms of choosing them or avoiding them.
Well done.
Pretty
boys.
good.
Well done.
Very nice, mate.
That's
very
good.
nice.
Now, that does leave us a bit of a challenge to try and replicate that this week.
It does. 22 out of 25, 88% is a very, very big feat there. DR, do you want to take us through the fixtures ahead of this round?
Alrighty, so there are some very, very juicy matchups that we find ourselves with, but we do start the Thursday night with Hawthorn versus Collingwood. That doesn't get me overly excited. However, the next one does. Geelong versus Essendon, Friday, 7:40, down there at the Cattery. There could be some very, very bad men in this game. We'll talk about them potentially in our pods, locks, and avoids. Then we come into our next really juicy matchup. We've got the Tigers taking on the Sainters. That's at the MCG Saturday 1:20. My boys take on the Swannies at the Gabba. We know Chocky's out. Does that bring anyone else into contention? Possibly. We then got Carlton and the Suns. Not a matchup that I'm too excited about. Port versus Freo. The Giants versus the Kangaroos. So can we jump on a couple of the Giants, boys, potentially here? Melbourne and the Doggies. Now, boys, usually this may not be the biggest game in the calendar. But with Simon Goodwin being sacked, could there be some nice Melbourne pods that completely burst out of the shell this week and get it done for the coach potentially there? And then we finish with the Eagles taking on the mighty Crows. Jordan Dawson's Crows, or is it Rolly Thilthorpe's Crows? They are flying at the moment. So potentially we could have another nice matchup there to end the round for us. So some very nice matchups, boys. And some of these teams, like your Cats, have some absolute GDS superstars for us. So going to be interesting to see if we go close to 25 out of 25 this week.
Let's do it. Well, without further ado, let's get into it, I say. So, look, we'll give it over to you, Rossco. The new ball with the lock. Who is going to be your first lock? So again, we're going with 3 locks each, 2 voids and 2 pods. And if there's any players left over that we want to put in there, we'll just chuck them in there for good measure anyway. So hit us off with your first pod, mate. Oh, with your first lock, mate. Sorry.
I'm going to start off nice and easy. Nazaya Wanganeen Miller against Richmond.
Very nice, mate.
We saw in Supercoach he had a low efficiency game and he didn't score super well, but it still translated nicely to a good GDS score.
Yeah, I think he's just a lock of the highest order. You can play him any week, any given sort of value. Can you like the card multiplier? Like he's just an awesome pick all round. DR, who's your first lock?
Yeah, when Gameday squad opens, could not wait to just lock this man in. The gold card. It's Maxi Holmes coming up against Essendon. He is a very, very bad man. He was one of the blokes I was referring to when we were talking about the Geelong-Essendon matchup. You've just got to have this bloke in. Extremely damaging, getting a heap of the football. It's just such an easy lock for me, mate. So Maxi Holmes, first defender picked. Or potentially after Naz. The top 2 anyway.
I like it, right? Top 2. There we go. So straight away 2 defenders. I'm going to go in some other lines now. So I'll go on the U-turn with Bailey Smith. I think if you're going to go one of the Dash brothers, you got to go the other Dash brother as well. So Bailey Smith, pretty easy lock in my eyes against Essendon, who right now pretty struggling pretty hard. So Geelong may towel them up there. And I'm not going to go with another Geelong player because I think it's a bit easy picking those ones out there. But the bot, you talked, DR, about how sort of important this game is for both teams. Bulldogs obviously need to win every game to make the finals. And then Melbourne in terms of their coach getting sacked and what's going to happen from there. But I think the Bont, he's been in ripper touch. Yes, only scored the 113 on the weekend. But I think that he's still in just scintillating form that he should be able to carry that through into a pretty easy matchup against the Melbourne midfield, albeit Melbourne will be putting their best foot forward as well. So maybe there's a bit of points in the crunch time to get some extra disposals in for the bot. We'll go to you, DR.
I'm going to keep on the defensive line here, and I'm going to lock in Lockie Ash. I think coming up against Roos this week, you could go with his partner in crime as well, but I think I'll blank over the 2 of them. I'm going to go with Lockie Ash. Just super consistent. He'll find a heap of the football. Kick-ins, mark some kick-ins, does it all this man. So a pretty easy lock for me, Lockie Ash.
And I've got a stat for you, mate. So the Lockie Ash to Lockie Whitfield fantasy goal. So this is from Fantasy Freako. We like the word waxing. When someone gives the ball to another player, they get it back sort of thing. So Lockie Ash and Lockie Whitfield are in the top 10 for waxing with each other. So Ash to Whitfield has happened 39 times this season. Whitfield to Ash has happened 39 times this season. Ash to Callahan is the number 1 combo, happening 44 times this season. So
nice.
Perhaps that's a name we can chuck out there a bit later on, but all of those combos in the top 10 amongst passing to each other. So I like that, mate. Rossco, are you going to follow up with this GWS teammate or are you going to go somewhere else?
No, I'm going to go elsewhere. I'm going to go with a man who is absolutely hunting for 100 goals in the regular season. Jeremy Cameron. He could kick 15.
Could kick 15.
If they feed him the ball, he could kick 15.
He needs 25 goals to get to 100. So you're saying he gets 15 this week, only 10 for the last 2 weeks?
You never know.
Chewy.
Look, he kicked 11 against North, and they weren't even really trying to feed him that much. Now that he's got a target, I mean, it could also have the other effect of, the Clarko effect where they send 2 players to him. But I don't think Essendon's got 2 defenders that are good enough to stop him.
Look, it's a running joke around here that Clarko and I don't get along because of what he did to Brendan Favola. So hopefully he doesn't do that to Jeremy Cameron this week. Are you going to play a gold card that means in Contender, mate?
No. I'll just be picking him. Yeah.
Okay. Very fair.
I still think that the safe floor for a bunch of other gold cards is a bit better, but I'll still be picking him.
Okay. Who's your third and final lock then?
Okay. I've got another one. Okay. I'll go with Lockie Whitfield this time.
Oh, let's go Lockie Whitfield. So
yeah, I'll take Lockie Whitfield.
The other lock in. Anything else you want to add there?
Nah, look, playing against North Melbourne, Monaco Oval, as you said, with your waxing, they just kicked each other a lot. And last week I tried to split them, and I thought I'll pick Whitfield because Whitfield took majority split of the kick-ins, and then Ash ended up taking more kick-ins last week. So I think it's easier just to hedge bets and pick both.
Awesome. DR, who's going to be your third and final lock then, mate?
Oh, look, I'm going to go with... I know you said Geelong's too easy. What happens?
No, you don't. You don't do that. You don't have to do that.
Oh, well, I like the look of Brian Myers. I really like Brian Myers. He's changed, obviously, his role this season, pushing up and towards the midfield, getting a lot of the football, kicks the ball as well. So I think it's so matchup dependent, this game, isn't it? And I think he's the type of player that could really take advantage of this. So, yeah, Grind's going to be locked in my forward line this week.
All right, boys. That leaves me with one more one more lock to talk about. But I'm going to give a 2-for-1 combination, and I'm going to go on the same line, the rucks. Now, you may be thinking, well, Brodie Grundy is the informed ruckman of the competition. There's no way you leave him out, right? I think that Max Gawn and Rowan Marshall are the 2 best ruckmen this week. Now,
okay,
is anyone going to go for a rebuttal here and say anyone else? Or are we happy to lock those 2 in?
I'm happy to lock them in, but I don't know if I'd call them locks.
Okay. That's why I was thinking they're more like picks that right now I think off the ruckman, they're the picks that I want to start. Agreed that I don't think they're locks. I think Max Gawn is a lock. For me, in a game that means so much to the club, and coming up against Tim English, who you can see them getting off the chain a little bit in terms of English isn't the most restrictive ruckman. English gets his points. Gawn can get his points. I wouldn't start English in a matchup against Gawn, but I'm happy to start Gawn in a matchup against English, especially in the type of game this is. So for that reason, I'm happy to say Gawn as a lock and then Marshall as a tentative.
Yeah, the only thing... Are we forgetting Tristan Sherry here? Is he going to be absolutely coming in breathing fire? And Briggs hasn't had a good last couple of weeks. No.
So he's been terrible.
A very true point. Very true point.
200
I don't mind Tristan Sherry, and I've actually gone early, mate, on the pod there. So
all right. Well, look, we'll lock in Maxi Gawn then. We'll come back to our mark because I really like the Marshall matchup against Tobin and Curvis as well. And yes, Grundy had almost 40 touches on the weekend. Rowan Marshall had 30 of his own touches as well. So he's not in too bad of a form either from that perspective. And there's a reason for that. He scored 160 on the weekend. He's in pretty good form there. All right. I know, boys, that we were talking a little bit about the avoids being a tough sort of category off air. I'm going to start us off. And I think the avoid that I'm going to go with, especially if Connor Rozee is not 100%, is Sack Butters. So Sack Butters is a player that he copped the tag from Corey Wagner early this year. I would love to have some GDS data available to that, but unfortunately, that's not available to us. But from the perspective that Sack Butters had 10 touches on the weekend, had his worst score of the season, and is there any reason that Corey Wagner doesn't repeat the dose on him again this week? It could happen, and for that reason, I think that there are better midfield options this week than Sack Butters. We'll go to DR next.
Yeah, well, we've already talked about how Gawn may have fire in his belly this week, and we know that Tim English had a phenomenal game last week, but I think Maxi Gawn's going to go to town on Tim English. And I'll go as far as saying that I think Gawn is going to dominate Tim English. I really do. I don't see English scoring well at all this week, and I would not be looking at him in GDS. So absolutely avoid Tim English this week. I'm going to say sub 85 for Timmy this week. Sub 85. I just think Gawn is going to come out and really put his best foot forward for the coach, I think. So maybe a big, bold call, but not for me this week, Timmy.
Awesome. Rossco.
Strong words. For me, I think my first avoid for the week is going to be Nick Dacos.
Ooh.
Yes.
Elaborate.
Look, he's playing off half-back, but I think Hawthorn especially are a team that are going to put work into him. Collingwood are in a bit of a form slump. They've just lost to the Lions. And I think ideally, if you've got half a brain for an AFL coach, you work out that you put a bit of work into Nick Dacos and it can really guide you a long way into winning a game. I think the teams that have tried to nullify him have done it well. I know Corey Wagner did it pretty well. James Jordan and Ryan Clark have done it well with him for Sydney. I just think that Hawthorn, I know they don't have McGuinness, and I know that Will Day's not going to be playing either, but they'll send someone to put a bit of niggle into him, and it tends to throw him off. He had a bit of a bad game last week where it looked like he was going to go really strongly. I'm just not sure. So for that reason, I'm going to avoid him.
Very nice, mate. Okay. We'll go back to you then, or you can throw it over if you don't have a second one.
Nah, I've got another one.
You got another one? Go for it.
Yeah, look, he might not be the most relevant to avoid because I don't think many would be considering picking him anyway. But Zach Merritt going down to GMHBA, playing against Geelong. I think, look, he has shown that he can put up big scores in GDS, but I just don't like it for him this week.
Yeah. Very, very good pick there, mate. I think that's a strong avoid as well. DR, back to you, mate.
Yeah, similar to Rossco, I don't know how many people will be looking at this bloke, but I know that lots did, including myself last week when he played the Tigers. But for me, it's Matty Rowell. So coming up against your boys, I've got a feeling that my boy in the other game that we played, Georgie Hewitt, may just body up on this man and do a similar job to what Josh Dunkley tries to do. And so, although it's a really important game for the Suns and we know that they're absolutely in finals contention, he's been playing so well lately, Rao. I just think that there's got to be a time where he has a bit of a tough one. And I think they could send Georgie to him to do that this week and make it as tough as possible. So a very, very risky one there. I may be compromising the 25 out of 25, but I decided to go with the sorry, boys. And if we go 24 out of 25, you can blame it on me and kick me off the potty.
Look, we're going risky with the pods this week. I like it. I definitely like it, mate. And I'm gonna go equally as risky here. Like this is not for the faint-hearted at all.
Yeah,
I'm going to go one of your boys, mate, because I worry about the James Jordan tag going to Huey McCluggage.
I was thinking that as well.
And so Huey's been a rock-solid option, like truly a rock-solid option most weeks in that way. So I think Huey McCluggage could go sub 100. But equally, I think there are some other players that it's just a tough round. Like, okay, let's put our brains together. What do we see Jordan Dawson scoring on the weekend? Because I feel like he's one of the toughest sort of picks to gauge what he's going to score. Because if this was, let's say, the Bulldogs, I'd confidently say he could score 140. But against West Coast, we've seen against sort of opposition that are bottom six that Adelaide get the game done pretty early because they're one of the best teams in the league, obviously. And then Jordan Dawson rests forward. He doesn't get those tackles, doesn't get the marks, doesn't get the kicks. I think he'll score around 110 to 115. There's a world he scores 160. There's a world he gets to 90. Where do you boys sort of see Dawson this week?
I think the safest move. No, I'm always talking contender here, right?
Yeah.
Bronze. Just put a bronze Dawson because there's no way that I'd have the guts to not field him against West Coast. But I don't feel confident enough to get to that gold level. Maybe it may be Spruker Silver. I'd maybe go a silver if you want to split someone in half in case he does go off. But I think personally what I'm looking at is just a straight bronze and just call it a week for me. Rossco, what do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, look, I have him written with the avoid with like 3 question marks next to him. Like,
3 question marks.
It's a West Coast matchup, and he's playing in the top team in the competition. I actually don't think they'll really rest or manage him too much at all. Like making up the captaincy data, it makes a strong case for him. I think a bronze is just the way to go, though.
Yeah. So you've got him as an avoid because he is, again, you're not going to put a gold out there, but you feel more confident putting a lower tier card out there, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, boys, so the 6 avoids we had there: Butters, McCluggage, English, Nick Dacos, Saki Merritt, and Matty Rao. Some big names in there. We'll see how we go. Let's go into the pods then. DR, you haven't started picking yet, have you? So we'll go to you with asking for your first pod.
I'm going with the big caveman, Riley Thilthorpe against West Coast.
Real seeker.
This man, he's been on fire. And when I'm thinking about these players, it's always a little bit selfish. I think to myself, who are the golds that I have? And Janath, I believe it was you, mate, that traded me that Riley Thilthorpe gold, a ripping card to add to the collection. But I can see him going off this week. Unlike Dawson, I don't think they're going to rest him in any way. I think that he can score well when he chops out in the ruck. Up forward, he could absolutely dominate. Don't worry about Jeremy Cameron kicking 15. I think this man could do pretty well himself. Got a little bit of competition with Tex and Fog there, but I think Riley Thilthorpe, the big man, pair him up with Jezza this week, and you should have a pretty big smile on your face by the end of the round. Sorry, Rossco, I've obviously picked your one there, mate.
Yeah, you have, but that's okay. There's plenty more. Now, Janath, can I get you to go first? I'm just quickly going to get some numbers to back up a rogue pick.
Oh, he's going rogue, Rossco. All right, I like it.
I want to give a couple of names. The first one, Finn Callaghan. Finn Callaghan coming up against North Melbourne at Manuka Oval. We talked about the numbers of Ash to Callaghan before. I think he's gonna go to the next step again and just bring it home. Giants had a really bad game against the Doggies. I can see Callaghan bouncing back big time in this game. Do you want to give me one? Do you want me to give one more, Rossco?
No, I'm good to go.
You're good to go. All right, you go for it.
Good to go. All right. My rogue pick is actually someone who could be all Australian. Like he could be all Australian.
Ed Richards?
Probably underrated because he plays for an interstate team. I'm going to throw out. No, I'm going to throw out Josh Worrell.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to throw out Josh Worrell now. There's a stat. I was going on about it Friday night in the pub with my mates. Adelaide, I believe it's like 15-2 in games where Worrell's gotten over 18 disposals, and they've lost all the games where he's gone under that. Now, fortunately for them, this year he's gone over that most of the time because they're winning. Now, if I bring up some scores, so he scored 107 GDS last week. He had 20 disposals with 5 marks. Now, he has gone a bit better than that over the last couple. He's had tallies of 11 marks in 3 out of his last 6 games, which has given him Supercoach scores. I can't find GDS here. 116 and 121 with 24, 25 disposals. Look, against the Eagles, he could be the guy who just picks up that 20 to 25, lots of cheap marks if the game's dead, and score quite nicely for us.
Like it, mate.
Very nice, mate. Very nice. I think that's one of those cards which is you don't really think about it. And then if you can put him in your side and he scores 120, it's a card that you could really get away with in that sense.
The reason why I'm thinking as well. So I have names written down that I would normally go for, but I'm not sure about. So Bailey Dale against Melbourne on the MCG. So Jordan Clark playing against Port away from home. And Sheasel and McKirch are playing at Monaco against GWS. Now, none of those matchups are exactly super favourable, which makes me think if I could find that one defender card in the matchup that could be really favourable, the Eagles, then it could be a big winner. Now, for that reason, I'm going to go with another Adelaide player. I know, DR, you've already listed Thilthorpe. I'm going to go with Daniel Curtin.
Oh, the potential
A
rising
lot
star
of
runner-up.
Adelaide.
Yeah. Now, he's a bit different to Thilthorpe in the sense that he's probably not going to kick 5 and play ruck, but he's probably going to play more of that sort of high half forward ring, sort of roll into the midfield a little bit, and really get his hands on the ball. And against West Coast, what better team to try him out, I suppose, especially with his forward status. It might not necessarily be one for Classic or Contender as a big high-level gold card, but, fit him in, see how you go.
I like it.
Very nice.
I like it. Well, how are we going to fit all these Adelaide blokes into our side with all the other players in here as well? DR, who do you want to go with as... Oh, actually, I'll go next. I think Sean Manor.
Oh, yeah.
Manor's been a player that we've seen too. If you got a bronze of him, you're going to be pretty happy. Silver, golds, all of that, yada yada. I think he could be a very decent player this week in terms of coming up to the stoppages. Who knows what the scoreline will look like in this game? It's at GMHBA as well. It's not going to be pretty reading. So I think Sean Manor is a pod that I'm happy to roll out this week.
All right.
DR,
well,
go for it.
Finish this off with the last pod, and I'm going with Finn Callahan's teammate in Tommy Green. So
Very nice.
we know that GWS are right there in the hunt, but percentage for these boys is massive at the moment. They haven't got a fantastic percentage, and so I think that they're really going to put the foot down this week, and Tom Green is going to be a major part of that engine room along with Finn Callahan. So I'll be very happy to field him this week. Look, there are many good options, but if we're looking at matchups and circumstances, the fact that I think Giants need to win and win well, I think that he'll be one of the blokes to really step up. So Tommy Green for me, mate.
Very nice. Well, I had 3 other pods listed down here that we can just chat about very quickly. Isaac Rankin, his CBAs have gone way down. Is it bad to say that I may prefer to play Dan Curtin over Rankin this week? But still treat
I don't think it is.
Rankin as a pod? Curtin's last month has been phenomenal. And same with Worrell.
It has.
And Thilthorpe, Manor, Myers. How many of these blokes can you truly... Will you have just a forward line of Geelong players and Adelaide players? It's pretty funny to think about when we think about that. So you've got Jezza, Baz, Myers, Manor, Thilthorpe, Rankin, Curtin.
McRae versus the Tigers?
Exactly. And we got McRae in there. But McRae's CBAs have been going down as well in terms of...
That's true.
Here's a hot take. Jack Steele was made sub last week because he wanted to rest the older midfielders. Is Jack McRae a type that could get a rest? Whether it's managed or made the sub, it's a valid thing that I think that Steele sort of out can really bring into our minds, I reckon.
Is he in your top 6 forwards this week, Jack McRae?
If he is named, not the sub, yes.
Okay.
But we got that one. I might just slide Rankin off because I think the other 2 pods are ones that I'm very happy with. Josh Dunkley against Sydney. Mm-hmm. Now, he scored 171 Supercoach earlier this season against Sydney I'm pretty sure it was the round 1 matchup.
It was.
He was everywhere. Neil had a bad game. He was everywhere. Now he's not going to get the tag. Someone has to step up in that midfield now with Lockie Neal injured for the rest of the season. I think that Josh Dunkley at home in a must-win game, again, every single game for those top 4 teams a must-win, even for the top 8, 9 teams, really. So that's another one. And the final one, I feel like I talk about this guy every single week until he gets his respect. Johnny Noble. He
Oh,
is. He should not be a pod.
yeah.
He should be a lock week in, week out, because without Dan Rioli, it's him. It's him and no one else. And even against Carlton, I just don't see anyone stopping him from getting his ball back there. He loves a picnic. I think he went from 29 to 30 touches in the matter of 10 minutes on the weekend as well. You see that score go up, up, up with these halfbacks, and Johnny Noble should be in and amongst it this week. So, boys, when we look at our locks, avoids, and pods, so in terms of the locks, we got Bont, Gawn, Holmes, Smith, Naz, Lockie Ash, Jeremy Cameron, Lockie Whitfield, and Grind Myers. In terms of avoids, we have Sack Butters, Hugh McCluggage, Tim English, Nick Dacos, Merritt, and Matt Rao. And in terms of the pods, we have Tom Green, Finn Callahan, Josh Dunkley, Sean Manor, John Noble, Riley Thilthorpe, Josh Worrell, and Dan Curtin. Can we go? How many names is that? We've got 9, 15, 18, 20, 23. Can we go 20 out of 23? I guess we'll find out this time next week, shall we?
Let's see how we go.
Boys, been a big night. Hopefully, we can deliver on these picks. But if you guys are tuned in right now, put down below your biggest lock, your biggest avoid, and your biggest pod. And also put down what your sort of goal is in terms of, for me, it's to finish top 10 in the Contender comp. For Rossco, it's to win the rookie league. DR, what would you say your goal is?
I don't know how realistic it is, but I would love to get as close as I can to the top 20 in Contender. So 35th at the moment. Let's just say 25. I'll go top 25 for Contender.
Awesome. So if you guys are watching, put down what you think what you want your goal to be in Game Day Squad, in whatever comp it is. And yeah, we're looking forward to hearing about it. Good luck for this week, and we'll see you guys again for the next video. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
See you guys.